بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. So alhamdulillah, by the grace and the fadl and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have once again welcomed the most excellent of months, the best of months, the best of days. That most beloved guest of Ramadan is once again in our lives, and indeed we should be extremely grateful and thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we certainly didn't deserve or didn't do anything to deserve being alive this month. And we should therefore, as we start this month, just reflect on that fact that it is indeed by the mercy of Allah that despite our inadequacies, despite our shortcomings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has once again given us an opportunity to witness the best of days and the best of months. And for that we should be extremely thankful. We always talk about, usually in the first day, what should our theme be moving forward for the rest of this month. And many of us have thought about, or at least should have thought about, how do we make this particular Ramadan better than all of our previous Ramadans. In fact, better than all of our previous Ramadans combined. And one of the interesting things that we see in one of the ayahs that we read today, actually we read it in Isha Salat, we'll read it in Tarawih tomorrow, is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the month of Ramadan in the Quran. شَهْرُ رَمَضَانَ الَّذِي أُنزِلَ فِيهِ الْقُرْآنِ. The word Ramadan is only mentioned one time in the Quran, and the month is mentioned only one time in the Quran. And how Allah Ta'ala chooses to define that month is also very interesting. So Allah doesn't say that this is the month الَّذِي أُنزِلَ فِيهِ الصِّيَامُ or الَّذِي أُقِيمَ فِيهِ الصِّيَامُ. It's not the month in which Siyam was revealed or in which Siyam or fasting was established, but rather Allah defines this month by saying that this is the month in which the Quran was revealed. In other words, that Allah is saying that when you think of Ramadan, you should think of the Quran. And when you think of the Quran, you should think of Ramadan. That the two of them are intertwined and linked together. Right? They're like peanut butter and jelly. You have to have them together. So when you think of Ramadan, you should think of the Quran. And so therefore, fasting is nothing more than an excuse or a preparation for the believer to access the Quran. Right? So fasting was made fard by the mercy of Allah so that it would be easier for us to perform a supererogatory act of worship, which is to access the Quran and to make strong again that relationship with the Quran. So you see that the wisdom was that fasting was made compulsory so that it would be easier for us to access the Quran. And that is why when the Prophet ﷺ, for example, when he was in Hira, that he would go for periods of time, 10 days, 20 days at a time, and he would engage in fasting. And when the Quran came to him, the first revelation came to him in Ramadan, he was in a state of fasting. We heard the story of Musa alayhi salam when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that وَإِذْ وَاعَدْنَا مُوسَى أَرْبَعِينَ لَيْلًا. When we promised Musa alayhi salam 40 nights. And the scholars, they say that originally Musa alayhi salam, when he went to Mount Sinai, he was there for the month of Ramadan for 30 days and he was in a state of fasting. And after the 30 days were completed, he cleansed himself, he washed his mouth and he combed himself and he put on new garments. And Allah asked him that, "Oh Musa alayhi salam, why have you done this?" And he said, "Ya Allah, I know that you're going to speak with me. I wanted to prepare myself to be able to recite your kalam." And Allah says to Musa a.s. that didn't you know that I wanted you to be in the state of fasting with that smell of fasting coming from your mouth so that you could recite my kalam. So fast another 10 more days so that you could have that state. So Musa a.s. was given another 10 days, and that's why it was made into 40 days. Right? So it was a preparation for Musa a.s. in order to say the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does that mean for us? Is if we want to make this Ramadan better than all of our previous Ramadans, then the key to unlocking that benefit is for us to develop that relationship with the Quran. It's as simple as that. It sounds like something we've heard since we were little kids, but that is the ultimate reality. It's not about listening to a whole bunch of lectures or, doing whatever it is. That's for stuff outside of Ramadan, right? Reading Tafsir, reading Hadith, going to all these halaqat and stuff, that's outside of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan should be a boot camp where we become addicted to the Quran. And inshallah, that should be our dua, that we should be addicted to the Quran. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. We should, because what is an addict? Is someone who can't do without. They feel empty, they feel that they're not fulfilled. And what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَتَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبُهُم بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. That those who believe, they find their comfort, right? And to borrow a slang term, they get their fix from the remembrance of Allah. And what better remembrance of Allah is the Quran? أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. Is it not through the remembrance of Allah that the hearts find comfort, that they find tranquility? And so this should be our mindset. This should be our philosophy as we enter into this month, as we come into this month, that how can my relationship with the Quran be better this month than it was before? And inshallah, if you do that, then the secrets of this month, the benefits of this month will come to you. So how do we do that? And how do we do that? Very simply, the first step is to engage in reciting the Quran. Engage in the oral recitation, the verbal recitation of the Quran is perhaps the greatest thing we can do outside of the obligatory acts in this particular month. When fasting was given to previous peoples, like when Maryam alayhi salam, when she said that she was fasting, she said, فَقُلْ إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنْسِيًّا. She said, I'm fasting for as a vow, and on this day I won't speak. So in previous times, they actually were not allowed to speak, right? But it is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are allowed to use our speech while fasting, right? And why was that? Is that it was to make it easy for us to recite the Quran, right? Because the word Quran itself means the recitation, right? Al-Quran from qara'a yaqra, which means to recite. So yes, everyone talks about, everyone talks about the importance of, yes, you should understand the Quran and this and that. And yes, there's no doubt about it. It is important for Muslims to understand the Quran and know the meanings and know the Tafsir. We're not saying not to do that. But if you don't have a relationship to recite the Quran, then you won't be able to understand it. This is like saying that use your cell phone, but you don't know how to turn the power on. Right? So the key to understanding the Quran is to begin to recite the Quran. And that starts in this month. And the other 11 months of the year is for us to understand the Quran. Right? But we get it backwards. Everybody says, I want to understand the Quran. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But the priority should be the recitation of the Quran. Right? To the point when, in the Prophet ﷺ, in a hadith which is narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, radiallahu anhu, this is a hadith Qudsi. Allah Ta'ala says through the tongue of the Prophet ﷺ that مَنْ شَغَلَهُ الْقُرْآنُ عن ذكري ومسألتي. And pay attention to these words. That whosoever, that the Quran makes him to be so busy that he doesn't remember me or even remembers to ask me. Right? So this is, just imagine, this is the true definition of a Quran addict. Right? They're so addicted to the Quran that they don't even have time to make extra dhikr or even to make extra dua. Right? What does Allah say for this person? He says that for this person, فَأَعْطَيْتُهُ أَفْضَلَ مَا أُعْطَى السَّائِلِينَ. That for this person, I will most assuredly give them more superior things, better things than I will give to those who ask me. In other words, that the people who are engaged in this tilawah of Quran, who are engaged in this recitation of Quran, and tadabbur, which is the second thing, that the reflection and the contemplation of some of these ayat, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that these people, I will give them better, and I'll give them more excellent things than even the people that ask of me. So imagine how great that reward is. And so that should be our mindset. Right? One of the du'as that the Prophet ﷺ would habitually make in Ramadan in particular, he said, Allahumma ja'alna min ahli al-Quran. That, oh Allah, make us from the people of the Quran. right? The team of the Quran. Right now we're in the World Cup when everyone like roots for their teams, right? You read Team USA and Team this and Team that. This is like, basically what Prophet is saying, that make us from Team Quran. Like this is the team that we want to be on. And that should be our mindset. You see how crazy and fanatical, and like I enjoy the World Cup too. There's nothing wrong with the World Cup, right? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying though is that people get so fanatical and so like passionate about their teams, right? So we should be like that fanatical and passionate about the Quran, and we don't have to dress up in like crazy colors and paint our faces and all of us things. Read it. That's how you get on Team Quran, is to read the Quran. And that's the secret of this month, is to be part of Team Quran, you have to read the Quran. Right? That's how you get addicted to the Quran. So that's the first step. And of course the second step, which I mentioned, which is to contemplate and to reflect upon the Quran. And this is why when we come to Taraweeh, for example, that we're able to just listen to the Quran even if we don't have time to recite it. If you just come to Taraweeh, and sometimes I know it's difficult that to stay for all 20 rak'ahs. My humble suggestion would be, if you're tired, whatever, just make an effort, just bring your sleeping bag and literally lie down on the fourth floor or in the back of the masjid and just listen to the Quran. You'll get one complete recitation that you will have listened to during this month, even if you don't stand, right? Or if you go home, then at least make some extra effort to do something that you listen to the Quran, and then you reflect upon it. That's the third thing, that you reflect upon it. And this is why the Quran is filled with these ayat that talk about death and talk about the hellfire and the punishment, and that's to make us afraid. But it's also filled with ayat about the life to come, inshallah, about Jannah and all the pleasures and delights of Jannah. And so we should think about these two things, that yes, we should be afraid, but we should also be very hopeful. And contemplation and tadabbur about both of these types of things is a very beneficial tool, and it is something that we should do, particularly as we're trying to fall asleep, as we're coming into the right after the hours of Fajr, for example. These are very, very useful times to make contemplation. And the fourth thing that we should do, of course, is the best thing to do right after one has completed an act of worship is to make dua. So every time we sit and read the Quran, every time we sit and listen to the Quran, or we make tadabbur of the Quran, we should make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should ask Him for whatever we wish to ask, because of the sheer blessing and the sheer barakah of having done that particular thing. Inshallah, Allah will give us whatever we want to ask, whatever we ask for, and whatever we need. We know that these first 10 days in particular are the days of rahmah, the days of mercy, and this is what we should be asking for excessively and abundantly, that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His rahmah in particular in these first 10 days. And so that is my humble message. It's not a complicated tafsir today. It's not rocket science. It's about what our mantra, our mindset should be for this coming month, and that we should be part of Team Quran. We should become addicted to the Quran, and the way we do that is by these simple steps. And this is how, inshallah, we will unlock the benefit of this month, and that is how, inshallah, we will pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes this month for us better than all of our previous Ramadans combined. How? By giving us a relationship with the Quran in this month, a sweetness and a joy and an ecstasy with the Quran that inshallah we've never had before. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us that joy in this particular month. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.